Shalom, shalom, mishpocha. Welcome to another edition of Ray Bash's Ramblings. I'm your host, Rabbi Yehuda Ben Shomer, and this is Playing the Victim Part 2. This is the follow-up video to my first video called Playing the Victim, in which the basic premise of that video was that being a victim is an event that happens to someone. It is never meant to be a state of mind, a state of being, or a lifestyle. And so if you haven't watched the first video, I kindly ask that you go and review the first video so that this second video will make sense to you and it will put more in a proper context that first video. Because if you watch this video without watching the first one, it's not going to make very much sense to you. The reason I'm doing a follow-up video was due to some concerns by some of my viewers where people could possibly take the first video out of context and misunderstand what I'm trying to say. So I decided to do a follow-up video in an attempt to clarify some of those possible potential misunderstandings. In my first video, Playing the Victim, I was mostly referring to people who use their victimization as a crutch, who use their victimization in an abusive manner, where they use their victimization in order to emotionally manipulate other people and to take advantage of other people, and also in an effort to use their victimization as a way of justifying or excusing their wrong behavior. This is not acceptable and is not justifiable in any means. The classic example of this is like a serial killer who said, well, the reason I killed other people, even though I know it's wrong, it's not my fault. I killed other people because I was sexually abused as a child, or I was physically abused as a child. That's no better than saying, the devil made me do it. Adam and Eve tried to pull that. God didn't buy it. And serial killers are doing the same thing with judges, and judges aren't buying it. And frankly, I'm not buying it either. We all have things that happen in our life that influences our actions, but we as human beings have free will, and we are totally in control of our actions and decisions. And so, we can't use events in our lives as excuses to justify wrong behavior. There are people who believe, oh, nothing's ever my fault. Everything is everybody else's fault. And like I said, that's what Adam and Eve tried to do. So that was mainly what I was trying to bring across in my first video of Playing the Victim. In regards to people who are not playing the victim in that abusive or negative sense, there are people who are playing the victim in a secondary sense, in another sense. In other words, they can't escape that event. They're constantly living in that moment of that event. They're constantly replaying that event that's gone on in their lives, and it's not so easy for them to get over. It's not so easy for them to overcome, and it's harder for them to go through that healing process. But if you are in that second class of people who are playing the victim, not in an abusive or negative sense, but in the sense that this is just something that has plagued your life, that has stopped your life, that has put your life to a grinding halt, that has held your life hostage, you need to take steps to take back your life. You need to take steps to go through that grieving process so that you can heal. And I'm not saying that this grieving process or healing process is going to take place overnight, that you have a few counseling sessions and sleep on it and somebody prays for you and you wake up the next day and everything's all sunshine and roses. No, I realize that there's going to be residual effects from this traumatic event that has made you a victim. The important thing is that when you become a victim, realize that being a victim is an event. It is not meant to be a label. It is not meant to be a lifestyle or a state of being. After that event occurs, don't refer to yourself any longer as a victim, but refer to yourself as a survivor, because you are in the process of surviving. I know that there is a difference in playing the victim in a manipulative negative sense, and then there is another way that somebody is being a victim, but I don't call it playing the victim. I call it this fight or flight mechanism, this residual effect of being a victim, which causes such things as post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, I'm not sure if some of you think that I just kind of pick topics out of a hat and start talking about them, and I just have a well-versed intellectual knowledge about these. I don't. In other words, I don't talk about anything that I do not have my own personal experience with, and I don't talk about things that at least I don't have a first-hand witnessed account to these, to where I have not, in other words, I have been involved in what I'm talking about to some degree. Yes, intellectual knowledge is very, very important, but I think it is greater and it is more important for that intellectual knowledge to be coupled with a heart knowledge, so that you know what you're talking about, so you can have some credibility and some clout when you're discussing or talking about a topic. So have I been a victim? Yes, I've been a victim. And I'm not here to divulge what the nature of my victimization was. That's only between me and God and a select few other people on the face of this earth, but I will tell you it was of an abusive nature. So I know what it means to be a victim. I know what it means to go through that process of healing. I know what it means to have that fight or flight instinct, to where you're paranoid, or where you're always looking behind your shoulder, or where you're having nightmares and you're replaying things over and over in your mind. I had to deal with post-traumatic stress disorder because of one of the events that have occurred in my life, to where I would hear certain noises and I would freak out. It would automatically bring me back like a time machine into the past, to that very moment and event, to where that traumatic event took place, and I would relive that over and over. So I'm not saying that it's something that you can necessarily get over overnight, but I'm saying it is a process that you can be delivered from, you can be healed from. I haven't had a PTSD event in quite a long time, and I thank and praise the Lord for that. But what I'm saying is that you need to stop labeling yourself as a victim, and after that victimization, after that event where you become a victim, after that you survived it, you need to label yourself as a survivor. It's no different than somebody who is a recovering alcoholic or a recovering drug addict. I hate it in these AA meetings where it says, "Hi, my name is so-and-so and I'm an alcoholic." No, if you realize that you're an alcoholic and you're trying to get over that and trying to be healed and delivered from that, then you are no longer an alcoholic, because you acknowledge that what you did was wrong and you're taking steps to be healed from it, to be delivered from it. See, if you keep calling yourself an alcoholic, or if you keep calling yourself a drug addict, or you keep calling yourself a victim, you know what that's going to do to you mentally? You know what that's going to do to you in your heart? It's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, because you know what? Life and death is in the power of the tongue. If I keep telling somebody they're stupid, I keep telling somebody they're an idiot, you know what? Slowly they're going to start believing that, and they're going to act, and they're going to carry out, they're going to fulfill that prophecy. They're going to start acting like an idiot, or they're going to start doing stupid things because they believe what they've been told, because I spoke that into them. And that's the same with your self-talk. If you keep calling yourself a victim, then you're going to be a victim the rest of your life. If you keep calling yourself an alcoholic or a drug addict, you're going to continue to call yourself that for the rest of your life. So once you become a victim, take that event and place it behind you and say, you know what? I'm no longer going to be a slave to this event of victimization. I am a survivor. And yes, I realize and acknowledge that I'm going to have residual effects of being a survivor, but that doesn't mean I'm a victim. I'm no longer going to be a victim, because when you become a survivor, that's the first step in taking your life back. It's the first step in the healing process of getting over that traumatic event. And you know what? All things work together for good for them that are called by the Lord and are called according to His purpose. And not to say that it was God's will for something traumatic to happen in your life. It wasn't God's will. It happened because we live in a fallen world and we live with fallen natures, and it happened because of a result of the fall and result of sin. But that doesn't mean that God cannot use that traumatic event in your life to make you a better person. For example, I was a geek in school. I was a nerd in school. I was teased, I was taunted, I was made fun of, I was beat up. Was it traumatic? Yes. Was it abusive? Yes. Would I want to go through it again? No. Do I want anybody else to experience that or go through that? No. I was bullied. Do I want anybody to go through that? No. Do I regret it? Would if I could go back and change things and not be bullied and not be taunted and teased, would I change the past? No. Oh, how can you say that? I'm saying that is because even though it was a bad thing that I was bullied, teased, and taunted as a child in school, I don't regret that happening to me, because it taught me how to grow a thick skin. It taught me how to be a better person, because God was able to use those harsh and traumatic events in my life to make me into the man that I am today. Let me give you one example. One time, a kid caught me off the school grounds, and he thought it'd be a good idea to clock me. He clocked me, and I ran home crying. I knew he was going to tease me the next day, but I had a game plan. As soon as I walked into the doors of the school, him and his buddies crowded around me and started teasing me and making fun of me, calling me a coward or chicken. And there was a big crowd, and everybody thought that there was going to be a fight. And I stopped right there. I put everything down, and I think he thought I was getting ready to throw. But I said, you know what? I don't care what you do to me. I don't care what you say to me. I love you, and Jesus Christ loves you. And that just stopped him right there. And you know what? I was no longer a victim of his fists. I was a survivor, and I took my life back. And as a result, he respected me for that, and he became my friend, and he actually, stood up for me a couple times. So, that's just kind of one example. So you don't need to play the victim anymore. You need to label yourself as a survivor and start taking steps, whatever it may be, counseling, prayer, whatever it takes to get through that and to regain your life back. And I realize that it's not going to happen overnight. And I realize that there's going to be some residual effects that you will suffer from. But you know what? Take those trials, take those tragedies, and allow the Lord to heal you of them, and allow the Lord to turn those into blessings. Because I was abused in my past, and because I was taunted and teased in school, because of the things that I've went through, I'm able to reach out and to help other people that are going through or have gone through those same exact events. And so you can take your traumatic, abusive victimization and use it for good, to help other people, to bless other people, to bring healing and life and restoration to other people. And so that's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. So there's a difference between playing the victim in a manipulative, abusive sense, and playing the victim as being a slave to that traumatic event that caused you to be a victim. I was talking about two totally different things there, kind of like apples and oranges. So I hope you realize the difference and realize fully with this second video what I meant and what I intended. So if you have been a victim, don't call yourself a victim anymore. Call yourself a survivor. That's just like in the Western world, when people meet you for the first time, they say, hey, what do you do? Which means, what's your job? And people want to define you by your job. And I hate that, because you know what? I used to be a factory worker, and if I say factory worker, they get this preconceived idea of who I am and what I'm about. But you know what? I may have worked in a factory from Monday through Friday, but those 8 hours a day through that 5 days a week does not define who I am. It doesn't define me. I am much more than a factory worker. I am much more than that. And so that's the same thing when you keep claiming yourself as a victim and calling yourself a victim. You can no longer do that, because that doesn't define you. You're a survivor. Being a survivor is what defines you. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and it brings better to light what I was talking about in the first video. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for your comments and constructive criticism. I really appreciate it. Shalom and Shavua Tov.